everybody. Welcome to Austin. I'm Chris. Welcome to the internet. Also, we're posting this on the Twitter, so don't say anything you don't want on our massive Twitter account. So hello and welcome to, we'll call this episode 214 of our video series. We're going to give a little bit of the background about what is open agents and why you should care and all of that. The headline of what we're launching today is our compute market. This is sort of a relaunch of our most popular product we did way back in 2023. The idea is sell your spare compute for Bitcoin. You all have compute that you're not using. I would like to buy it from you and give you the ability to be outbid by me if someone else around the world wants to pay you Bitcoin for your spare compute. We're launching this today for Apple Silicon. We'll be launching this soon for NVIDIA and AMD GPUs. So I'm going to give you a little bit of like the technical architecture, why we're doing this, what we did in the past, what is open agents, how this fits into our broader vision. My best case scenario is by the end of this video, we can get the people of you who brought your Apple Silicon laptops paid Bitcoin. Now, while I'm talking, if you want to try to set this up, I was up till 5 a.m. vibe coding it. I got to the it works on my machine stage. So it works on my machine. Let's see if it works on your machine. So I would appreciate some beta testing. Okay, so the repo, if you're on a Mac, head over to GitHub/OpenAgentsInc/OpenAgents. At the bottom, if I refresh my page, should be agent install instructions. So basically, if you just paste that, it'll kind of tell your Claude Code or your Codex, whatever, to clone it, make sure the Rust toolchain is installed, and run it. This is a full Rust app, so you'll need the Rust toolchain. Okay, while you try to set that up, when you do launch it, it looks like this. Everyone's been freaking out about the like Evangelion UI on Twitter these days, so I was like, yeah, let's just like throw an Evangelion style UI on here. Okay, so the magic button here, top left, says go online. You're gonna hit this button. Oh, there's a job. That's probably queued from earlier. Okay, so what is going on here? On the left, you'll see wallet. There's your Bitcoin wallet. This uses a built-in Lightning wallet using Spark. There's a BIP39 entropy just stored on your computer, which you can copy by clicking the copy seed button here. Basic Lightning wallet. I funded my account yesterday with a few hundred sats, and then I was able to get a few 2-sat payments from my sort of like demo machine. If you are not on Apple, I would still appreciate if you could try to install this. We have something called buy mode here, which just sends these kind of dummy jobs of 2 sats every 12 seconds. So you can come in here, you can say, you know, I want to load 100 sats on my account. Clicking copy will copy the invoice, or if you pop over to the console, you'll have a QR code that you can scan from Cash App or whatever your wallet is. This uses the Apple Foundation model that is built into your machine for inference. Every Apple Silicon device that's running iOS 26 Plus has a decently powerful, not super powerful, not state-of-the-art, but like decently powerful large language model built into the app. Pretty much no one that I've heard is actually meaningfully using this. But hey, we've got a big untapped pool of compute just sitting there if we can pay people for it. All right, so hopefully people like the idea of this product, which for now, there's all sorts of other stuff planned. But it's a product that you hit a button and you make money, okay? That should be the easiest freaking product to sell, right? Okay, so let's go into a little bit of the background here. So the video I posted a few days ago, just kind of introducing what we're doing this month. In our previous video, we just showed how this Autopilot agent that we're kind of, the whole idea is we're trying to build our version of a personal agent. You've all heard of OpenClaw, very fast-growing open source project. Great in a lot of ways, validating that people want personal agent, that these agents should be composed of a bunch of different tools. but people have been bumping into kind of hilarious problems around security, around installing untrusted skills, just things that we've been kind of working on for a while, and we think we have answers to in this idea of like Bitcoin and Nostr-based decentralized marketplaces using public key cryptography where it makes sense. Okay, so today is the first of 5 launches. We're going to do 1 launch per week of these sort of like interlocking markets for an agent's marketplace. The idea being that there are spare resources that you have access to that agents may find valuable. So compute is what we're starting with, a reboot of our previous product launch. More on that in a second. Where we're going next week, sell your spare data. One example. Every developer who uses Claude Code or Codex, you have a wealth of information on your local machine because all of the conversations that you ever had are just sitting there on your machine. They're also going to OpenAI and Anthropic, and they're training on your data. But hey, maybe other people will find value from that data that you have. So imagine some script that you can run that'll redact your sensitive information, but maybe you want to sell some subset of that. I want to pay you $1 of Bitcoin or whatever for certain of your data for training better coding agents and such. So that we'll launch that next week. After that, labor. If your Claude Code or Codex, and these are just examples, if your Claude Code or Codex is just sitting idle overnight, you're not using it, why don't you sell access to it? We want this go online button to be able to let you click to have your agent start working. So right now, these jobs that are coming in are Nostr NIP90 jobs. Let's just do a quick detour about what is Nostr NIP90. So in addition to the Bitcoin wallet built into this is also a Nostr key pair. They both use the same BIP39 entropy, so the same 12-word seed phrase unlocks both your Bitcoin Lightning Spark wallet and your Nostr key pair. There is a Nostr spec called Data Vending Machine, basically letting a marketplace of service providers advertise what services that they have available, and people can request services that are provided by those with optionally a payment. One of the job request kinds, kind 50/50, is for text inference. So that's the job that we're using right now. I'm requesting some LLM inference. Right now it's Apple FM providing it, but you could envision that. So for example, the NVIDIA GPU integration that we have uses a local GPT OSS 20B. You could envision having an API key to a service where you've got maybe access to Opus or some other high-powered LLM. All of that should be able to be sold in this marketplace. There's been thousands or very many of these jobs, and if you look at relays, if you look at the NIP90 job history, there's a bunch of people using NIP90. But it's mostly been sort of people kind of playing around, and we think that this is the logical Nostr specification for agents transacting a lot of different services back and forth. But right now it's focused on compute. We're just only doing the kind 50/50 for text inference. But what if the things that are requested in that job market are fix this PR? You've seen how Anthropic just announced that they're bumping up their prices, or they expect that the cost of a review of a pull request is going to average out to be $15 to $25. So you see the memes floating around about how like Anthropic and them have like helped developers forget how to code, become dependent on their services, and then jack up the prices. Well, we're going to increasingly have the options of either paying companies like Anthropic or paying each other in Bitcoin, and conceivably we should be able to both undercut them and provide a better service and keep that money in sort of the circular Bitcoin economy. And then we've got some other ideas here in mind for, to the extent that this network uses Lightning, if there's sort of additional opportunity to extend the Lightning network by funding Lightning liquidity. Maybe you're just sitting there with your 10,000 sats. Is there a way for you to flip a button and have some of those sats help kind of programmatically build out liquidity for Lightning channels that you can earn yield on? This is a little bit more speculative, but just something we're going to experiment with. And then the 5th market we're going to launch is Risk. The co-founder of Lightspark, Christian Catalini, so Lightspark runs Spark that we're integrating with. But this brilliant paper came out a few weeks ago called Some Simple Economics of AGI. talking about like right now there's a crap ton of like agent output, but it's very hard to know what is good and verified agent output, and sort of that gap between what's being produced and what can verifiably produced is something that like a financial market set of risks, derivatives should help bridge that gap. So kind of pricing the risk and turning that into a market paid in Lightning, also, again, a little bit more speculative. But so the idea is that we can use the same sort of Nostr, permissionless, open, neutral protocol rails to provide all of these markets. I'm thinking we'll maybe also add a storage market. Nostr has the Blossom protocol, so we can very easily kind of plug that in for incentivized storage. We're thinking of maybe adding like explicit sandbox execution. Like, does anyone else have any other ideas for like primitives that an agent would find valuable that we could extend this model to? Shout it out if you've got any ideas.
I think a lot of the things I've seen is like through Slack or through some like voice command for agents. I don't know if that could fit somewhere in there, but just like getting your OpenClaw to do all those things, it would be great if there was just an agent that would assist with that.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're definitely going to be adding voice support into this, interface. We're trying to make it like a Tony Stark Jarvis kind of thing. For the OpenClaw thing, like decentralized skills and tools registries, we have a skills nib that Ovi, who's in the room, wrote. So one more thing worth saying is on our GitHub repo, we have 3 draft NIPs. So these are the different like protocols of Nostr. I wrote the NIP 28 years ago for public chat. And then I wrote these, I wrote AC and SA, so Ovi wrote skill. So agent skill registry, like instead of just loading in like skills.sh, because that's from Vercel and who knows what their incentives are, like the skills should all be listed in this permissionless open marketplace because they're on Nostr. That works very well with other primitives like reputation. Hey, that skill was used happily in a bunch of paid workflows, and my agents can just know that immediately instead of trusting them. That's awesome. I can see exactly like how many paid workflows use that skill or how much money would exchanged hands using that. All that stuff goes together very powerfully. I wrote this sovereign agents. This is kind of a combination of a few other NIPs, but basically enabling agents to be able to hold their own keys. We haven't fully implemented this yet, but by using the Froster protocol, we can split up a Nostr private key across a number of different Nostr relays, so the agent can basically have its own balance without the user being able to withdraw it. And then agent credit, just the first of many kind of like Bitcoin-based financial primitives we think these agents should do. Anyway, so there's so many different ways that we can extend this, but we wanted to start with like, what is the thing that's going to start getting people using Autopilot? Give them the button that lets them make money. Okay, so a little bit more background to this. First of all, what is Autopilot? So your entry point to all of these 5 markets or more is going to be Autopilot. Autopilot as desktop app. Eventually, we'll do mobile app and web app. So along with the launch of our compute market, we're going to launch later today version 0.1 of Autopilot, your personal agent. Think OpenClaw, but with a built-in Bitcoin wallet, built-in Nostr key pair, and a more curated set of integrations where we can better reason about the security of them. Because all of this is on open networks and open protocols, if you're a Nostr or Bitcoin developer, you'll be able to plug into this same liquidity pool we are building. So a little bit more background on open agents. So we've been building this since, 2023. Before sort of pivoting to agents in 2023, our like big first AI product was this GPU network using this same model called GPU Utopia. And the same idea of like you run software on your machine. Back then we had it.
There's actually a Thriller Bitcoin article on GPU Utopia. If you search for it, type it. Yeah, Thriller Bitcoin, type in GPU Utopia. Yeah, there's keep going. Yeah, that one. That's what we first talked about it like way back then.
All right, paid advertisement cars, thrillerbitcoin.com. There you go.
Say like we were literally discussing this like years ago.
Yeah, for sure. So this worked really well in that we had up to 300 people on our network at one time selling their compute. We would kind of pool it behind this OpenAI compatible API endpoint, offering inference, fine tuning, embedding, and image generation. The whole system worked. We got a bunch of people paid. We're basically just paying and subsidizing the buy side demand because the limitation that we had at the time was that, let me share what I had here. So we had an oversupply of sellers and no compelling buy-side use cases. Like if we're competing against a bunch of VC-subsidized infrastructure plays, it's hard to give people a reason to like use our network instead of like whatever else the competitor was. But we thought that the logical buyers of that type of compute down the road would be AI agents. There's some new AI architectures like recursive language models that call for splitting up workloads into like hundreds or thousands of micro jobs that can be parallelized. Swarm compute is perfect for that. So in the beginning, in the next few weeks, like we are still going to be the main buyer of this, but the goal is to get like a few hundred people reliably selling, us buy that compute for some of the cool projects that we have in mind, and then help other people find ways of using that compute alongside things like one of the things that we think people will find value from this. We also have this wrapping codex. It's not ready to show you, but this wraps codex because I've been trying to break away from these janky TUIs that are buggy, and like I do most of my coding through codex. But the thought is like, let's give like a really cool GUI for codex in something like this, easy like voice command and all that stuff built in. But because it's all going to be in the same interface, it can very easily have codex do 80% of the workload, have the other 20% or whatever go fan out to the network and say, okay, for this large thing where we want to process 1 million token PDF, that's perfect for a recursive language model. That's where we're going to use the user's Bitcoin wallet to like pay for the distributed swarm compute, run 1,000 inferences in 5 seconds, all organized on Nostr. So some of that stuff's going to take us a few weeks to kind of fully build out. But let's see here. So yeah, we did like an initial demo of this in our episode 178. This is an earlier version of our desktop app. You might even be able to see here, I've got this hand tracking thing going. So we're going to pull that back into the current app. But like, do I have the moving? Anyway, I got it to where I could like use my hand and like pinch one of the panes and move it around the screen. We're gonna do some like cool shit like this. But the model here was we have people run a local AI inference engine called Ollama. So you can install a bunch of different models and then have other people be able to use those models and pay you for it. So in the example here, I had a model that I could not run on my local computer running on my Linux desktop next to me. And conceivably, if you're just doing it yourself, you could just connect them with Tailscale or something like that. But just to demonstrate the power, I, in this video, had the desktop app pay 3 sats to run this large inference on this, goes over Nostr. And so a tiny machine is able to kind of use local AI, but not necessarily on its machine. But if you extend that to like, oh no, I got banned from Anthropic, I got banned from whatever, like every single inference provider, every single LLM in the world should be accessible in this same way. Anthropic might cry about terms of use or whatever, but you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. What else we got here? Any questions we got so far? Shout it out.
Yeah, can you give me an example of like how a normal person would use, like, because you said you're building out a decentralized open cloud, basically, like, give me an example of how somebody who runs that will be able to make money. Yeah. Like, how do you foresee that? Like,
the easiest way of making money is you install the thing, you click the button that says go online, you're selling your spare compute for Bitcoin. So all of these people who bought Mac Minis, bought Apple hardware, okay, maybe you're getting enough use for that. Maybe it's paying for itself, but like, you've got spare compute that you already paid up front for. You have no ongoing marginal cost for that. You may as well get paid Bitcoin. So to this point, no one knows that they have a valuable asset sitting in their computer because no one's been willing to pay for it. There's been no way to pay for it. So the value of your compute, which is essentially zero, now is going to have a price attached to it. So that's like step one. Once there's a price attached to it, people who have that compute, you're also going to be incentivized to help us figure out what are the logical buy-side use cases for that, because that's going to get you paid. But you can envision that as we launch these 5 markets, as you have agents running, you're collecting data all the time. even if that data is just the conversations that you have with the agent. The conversations that I have with my agent where I'm like I want to run a query just on my own data, for example. Find every occasion where I swore F-bombs at the agent, right? So that tells you where the agent massively effed up. So if you're trying to iterate and build a better coding agent, stuff where for my own workflow, I had to tell it this one thing. What are the things that I've told my agent 100 different times? Like that kind of stuff should be folded into smarter agents. Anyway, so I'll just wrap up that piece of it by saying the long-term best sort of goal for open agents is we're trying to build the best agents, not because we're training some massive model, but because we are coordinating a marketplace of knowledge globally, so the best agents can sort of emerge out of this decentralized marketplace. Okay, any other questions, ideas, comments? Has anyone tried to install a thing? Bugs? Thoughts? Sam, did you want to say something?
So there were a couple notable altcoins that launched inferencing on GPUs. But in this scenario, if someone has a Mac Mini or some M chip, they can download your software, install it, and when they're not using their computer, the computer can compute whether someone else in the world is trying to produce poetry or generate images or solve problems. They can use my computer and I could earn sats that probably cover my electricity, but still will be worth much more in the future. So it's really associates to general AI usage where a lot of people use ChatGPT, but now we can compute on really decentralized infrastructure. And it also makes sense to people who buy Bitcoin, but it's on hardware that provides more utility.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this sort of phase of the plan, we call it fracking Apple Silicon. Like, we're trying to connect millions of Apple Silicon chips into the world's largest network for agentic compute. This is just one piece of the big vision. But just as an example, it's funny I put Stargate Abilene since they've since like ramped down that plan. But like, so OpenAI's entire network, they have 2 gigawatts worth of compute. There's 5.5 gigawatts of just desktop maps around the world that nobody's doing anything with. It's like, all right, let's start with that. Okay, I'll be around all day. I would love to help troubleshoot anyone who has any issues with this. And I don't even think I had my little buy side thing running. So the buy mode on here will just like send 2-sat jobs out. I would like to get everyone with an Apple Silicon paid today. So let's help you with that. Last questions, comments, go ahead.
Well, so I just got in. Do I need OSS or is that wrapped in here somewhere?
Do you need what? Oh, no. So this is only Apple FM. So you don't need anything. There might be some weird permission or something that if you don't, I got a job.
I'm getting different than what you're getting. Apple Foundation models compatibility pending. Unavailable health request not found.
Cool. So what happens right now is that will show for a few seconds and then it should boot the actual server. But there might be some permission thing that I need to like have you do. I don't even remember what I did on my machine to get that piece of it working. But basically, the model's already downloaded. Because this is an unsigned application, I might need to like monkey with the Apple permissions or whatever. But I'll get with you in a few minutes here. Anything else? Okay, thanks, folks. Okay, Ovi, go ahead. Last word.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I might be able to offset the $200 a month Perplexity Max. Well, it gives me the like cloud version of CloudBot. So if once I have this, I'm not using it all the time. Might I be able to just like make that available for others to use that?
Exactly. Yes. Now, I don't know how loudly I'm about to say this on video, so I guess they'll all hear it. But Claude Code and all these people that are dramatically subsidizing usage. I mean, you can run a little command. I'm using Codex nowadays, but when I was using Claude Code, you can run a command to see how much you would have paid via API for the same usage. I was using $6,000 a month worth of API usage for the $200 a month plan. So they're taking massive losses on this. We can thank them for this while saying, hey, you've got a bunch of compute that you're just going to be giving to us. Yeah, let me just put my agent over here and like earn some Bitcoin off of that. So all of this like VC hilarious largesse is going to start increasingly being absorbed into the Bitcoin value for value economy. because we're emphasizing that value for value, I think we are going to find before anybody else what are the truly sustainable economics around AI that's going to sustain past bubbles bursting. But yes, let's get you paid some Bitcoin for monetizing your subscriptions in the meantime.
Do you think so? Will this slow down your computer at all, or like, do you recommend more just kind of running it overnight? Like, what are you anticipating?
The
as far as, like,
I haven't noticed any slowdown at all from the Apple FM. GP toss, something that has a load of crap ton of stuff into your RAM, we got to experiment with it because I don't know. All right, I'm going to end that here. Thank you all so much. And DM me on Twitter. I'll be around all day if you want to help me debug it further. Thanks.